it's a city state. So it's both a city and a country. It's fairly small for a country, fairly big for a city. It doesn't have a huge
It's very small for a country.
Yeah.
This is Worldschooling Q&A. I'm Astrid, creator of The Wandering Daughter. As a traveling family, we've spent 4 years traveling full-time to over 18 countries and 6 continents. Wherever we go, we try to learn as much as we can about the countries and cultures we visit. While we didn't coin the term, we like to call this worldschooling, using the world as our classroom. Each week, my husband Clint and I will answer one question about worldschooling and share our experiences of traveling the world with our kids. Ready to get started? Great! Let's dive in. All right, we are continuing with our country deep dives, and these are all countries we visited and traveled to during our worldschooling adventure from 2018 to 2022. Had a little brain slip there. So today's question we are answering is, how do I world school in Singapore?
How do we world school in Singapore? Where is Singapore?
Where is Singapore? Singapore is a city, state, city, country, a country and a city, basically. A city state.
Let's just all stop and watch Crazy Rich Asians.
It's a country that is located on the tip of the Malaysia Peninsula. So it sort of like overlaps between Malaysia and kind of Indonesia. It's like really close to that. And yeah, there's like a great airport there, the Changi International Airport, which is actually my favorite airport in the whole wide world. And what else would you like to share? We can dive into the logistics of.
Yeah, why is your favorite airport?
Well, it's just because Singapore is sort of like a hub for traveling throughout the rest of Southeast Asia. There's like the airport is big. There's at this point there's like 4 terminals now or something like that.
Yeah,
or three or 4. And the airport itself has like shopping that you can go to and do. And there's a separate garden shopping area that's attached to the airport, but I think you have to leave the airport to like go to it, called Jewel. And it's this huge, there's this huge waterfall that if you Google search it, you'll see it. It's just this huge waterfall that looks like a vortex.
It does, because it's like right in the center, right? It comes right.
Yeah, and then there's like plants all around. It's just beautiful architecture in the airport. And then the airport itself has a lot of like spaces for people to like just relax during their layovers. There's a cactus garden. There's like
aquariums built into just like the
little ponds and things like that, and even a swimming pool. I've seen it with my eyes.
In a hotel, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they were one of the first, like not just shopping, but it's like a mall.
Yeah,
I think they were one of the first airports to kind of have that mall. Now they're everywhere. I mean, here in the United States even.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's just a great place to, spend a layover if you are traveling through Southeast Asia.
Yeah. I joked about where Singapore is, because there's a funny joke in the movie Crazy Rich Asians where they purposely point out where Singapore is, because I feel like a lot of people don't know. Yeah. We mentioned in a previous episode about Indonesia. Logistics wise, it's a great transfer point to Indonesia. It's only less than 2 hours away by plane. So it actually becomes a pretty popular spot for visa renewals for digital nomads staying in Indonesia.
Yeah, they'll just take a trip up to Singapore, spend the day there, or maybe like just a few hours, catch the next flight back, and they can get a brand new visa when they come and arrive.
So like you said, it's a city state. So it's both a city and a country. It's fairly small for a country, fairly big for a city. It doesn't have a huge
It's very small for a country.
Yeah, it's the for United States people, it's the same as Washington D.C. is.
Yeah.
It's city and a state, but it's not actually that big of a city either, population wise. I don't think. I don't know the population, but it's definitely not in the top large cities of the world.
Yeah, like when we visited there, it didn't feel like it was like overly crowded or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
what it is though is one of the top business and financial hubs in the world, though. It really connects multiple markets together, including Chinese, Europe, United States. Many of these markets seem to converge in Singapore.
Yeah.
So having said that, it's a business hub. I mean, that's why I think it's a perfect like center point for Asia, because there is so much. It's easy to travel into, and it caters to just a large demographic.
With that, it means that it's a lot more expensive than the countries, than its neighboring countries.
Yeah, this is up there with the likes of New York, London. Like, it's those kind of prices that you're going to. So now there are some exceptions to that. We will talk about that. But when you're talking about lodging and stuff, you're looking at like New York and London types of prices usually. So having said that, it's kind of a hard place for world scholars long term. I think this is more of a transitional place for world scholars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how we did it. We only spent a couple days. Granted, we've visited Singapore many times in the past, and I personally have visited there many times in my childhood up until adulthood. And so, and each time I probably only spend like a few days at a time, because like it's a city, and there's there's like city amenities, city things that you can do. But like Clint said, I think the cost of it makes it hard to stay long term in Singapore.
Yeah. We'll talk about this, but it's got like major metropolitan features. Like they host an F1 race. They have one of the most famous Marina Bay Sands hotels.
Yes.
It garners. It's kind of like Dubai in that way. I think it really like attracts the wealthiest of people.
High end stuff. Yeah.
So one other thing too is that it's the main language, or the main spoken language, is English, largely because of the business, but also because it's kind of evenly split up with 3 other ethnic groups.
Yeah. So there's so you will see like English is spoken there, but then you will see like Chinese, mostly Mandarin, Malaysian, and I believe it would be Hindi, some kind of like Indian language.
Probably Hindi is the primary.
Yeah, because those are the 3 major ethnic groups that are found in Singapore. The Indians, the Chinese, and the Malaysians. And Singapore was a former British colony, so you'll also see a lot of like British colonial architecture and British colonial like influences in some of the things. Like the famous Raffles Hotel was like named after Sir Stamford Raffles, who was one of the first like British guys to come in and like take over the city.
And there's pockets, you walk down streets of Singapore and it feels very much like parts of London. In a lot of ways. So as far as money goes, Singapore dollar is the currency. Singapore is, like, at the hawker stands and stuff, you can use cash. It's largely card based at this point. I think
it's still 50-50 because like definitely the high end stores, you can pay with a card, but then, there are still a lot of neighborhoods that are, like the hawker stores, or if you're going into just like a shop in like Little India or, like Arab Street or something like that, you might still need to just pay with dollars, with cash. So
and cash is really easy to get. There's
There's
Yes.
banks and stuff
Banks,
for
ATMs
ATMs.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything is more expensive. The currency exchange is roughly the same, I think, as Canadian dollars.
Mhm.
So it's just a little bit under what the US dollar is.
Yep.
Getting around, what about getting around?
So there is like I think it's an MRT. So I think it's underground, either underground.
Most underground, I think there are
Yeah.
some spots that it's above ground.
So there's like, a rail system that you can go into and use to get around the city. We've used that and it's really easy to navigate.
Yeah, straight from the airport too, right?
Yeah.
You can get on it
Yep.
from the airport. Yeah.
There are taxis you can use. I don't recall if there was Grab there. Do you remember using it?
I don't remember using it at all.
Yeah.
We mostly use the subway.
Yeah.
It's really easy to use.
Yep.
And then once you get in Singapore, it's really easy to walk around too.
Yes, the streets are walkable and actually it's fun to just walk from neighborhood to neighborhood. The thing about Singapore is, it's diverse but a little bit segregated. So you have a neighborhood that's just the Chinese neighborhood, and then you have Little India where you'll find like the shrines and all the like Indian stores and stuff. And then you have Arab Street, or like where like the Malay community is. So it's like, and then you also have like Clark Key, which is like along the water. There's a river that kind of goes through, so that's like a nice neighborhood to go to. And then when you go down to like where the marina is and Marina Bay Sands, that's like another neighborhood that's like a little bit more high end built up. So I think if you were going to plan a visit to Singapore, it'd be fun to just like spend a day like walking through these neighborhoods and just checking out like how different and distinct each one is.
That said, in the summertime, it can be extremely hot.
Yes.
Extremely hot and humid. Definitely be leery of heat exhaustion, heat stroke.
Yep.
Stay hydrated. Try to stay under shade as much as possible. Because you are kind of exposed. There's actually not a lot of trees or overexposure. Right. Yeah. There's not a ton of tall buildings.
Yeah.
So you are pretty exposed out there.
I mean, most buildings will have air conditioning. So, if you get hot, just go into one of those. Yeah. But if you're planning on doing a lot of walking, yes, definitely like be prepared for the heat and the humidity. When we were there, it was in January. So it wasn't too bad.
That's kind of a nice time. But
it was even hot though.
Yeah, it was still warm, yeah.
But our family, my siblings, were there this past summer, and one of the kids did get heat stroke, and so mild heat stroke. So we encourage you to bring like a water bottle with you. I think, just to be able to like stay hydrated while you're traveling.
And unlike a lot of Asian countries, it is potable water there. So any of the drinking fountains or any of the faucets and stuff, it's actual drinkable water. I think any other logistics there that you can think of?
I think that's it.
Oh, I think the other thing I wanted to mention. Just about walking. Safety-wise, it's actually so because the government's pretty strict. I mean, I don't know if anyone remembers from the 90s. The whole caning incident of a U.S. citizen there.
You get fined for everything, like even chewing gum. You're not allowed to have chewing gum.
Yeah.
There's a joke. I've seen this. Somebody had like a T-shirt on, and it said like Singapore is a fine city, and then there's like all the different rules that you get fined for the shirt. And it always sticks in my head because I'm like, yep, that is so true.
So, but what is the flip side to that? Like, what's the benefit of that?
I would say that it has a very low crime rate and
super low crime rate and like incredibly clean.
Yes.
I mean, walking around the city is almost like walking through Disneyland because you're like, how is it this clean?
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. And I've in my younger days, pre-family, like I spent time in Singapore with like some friends, and we stayed out like till 1 in the morning, just like walking along the streets, and totally felt safe while we were there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's enough for our logistics and overview. I think we do some of the key highlights. What's one of the key highlights for you?
We love food. And one of my favorite things about Singapore is the food culture, particularly the hawker centers. These are like food halls, basically, where you go and there's just stalls of food vendors of any kind of cuisine that you, or, the local cuisine essentially, but you can get like Chinese food and Indian food and Malaysian food and like different types of those.
And Singaporean food.
Yeah, Singaporean food. Yes. Yes.
Too, yeah.
And this is a great, I think this is a great chance for world schoolers to get to know the diversity of Singaporean culture, because it's like all right there in the hawker center. You can taste it in the flavors and the smells and the types of foods that are there.
This is actually why I recommend, and we recommended Mexico as a great kicking off point for people based in the US for world schooling in general. I think Singapore is a great place to start for if you've never been to Asia before.
That's true.
It's English speaking. It's got a lot of amenities of big cities that you're used to, but it exposes you to just so many different cultures. Yes, you have the three main cultures there, but within Singaporean culture too, there's a large Filipino community. There's a lot of these subgroups too, and so you can find foods from all sorts of places. It's so close to go to Thailand, to go to Vietnam, to go to Indonesia. So like it's a good kicking off point to go to a lot of these places.
Yep.
So I think Singapore is a great starting point to just kind of get acclimated a bit.
For sure. What about you? What's a highlight for you?
Well, so because there's so much money in Singapore, they've actually done a great job of using that for good in a lot of ways. And one of the things that I love is just how eco-focused they are
in their architecture, right?
Well, in everything, right? I mean, the architecture for one, but some of the efforts they've done, for example, trying to find unique ways to recycle plastic, to clean the ocean. But one of the cool things, they have this thing called the super trees. It's down the Gardens by the Bay, which is also where the Marina Bay Sands Hotel is. But there are these giant, you've probably seen pictures of it. It's easy to Google search, but like these giant metal tree-like sculptures that they've created that you can go in and explore. But they also are growing actual vegetation on these trees. Yeah. So it creates this like, there was some sort of, I can't remember exactly what they were trying to do, but like there was a eco agenda behind it. But they're just stunning to look at. And now, I mean, they've been around for quite a while now.
Yeah.
For like at least over 15 years.
Yeah.
And so they do have quite a bit of vegetation grown on them already at this point.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of my there's some other highlights in there. There's like this lake with like these giant bubbles, and I don't know, it's really cool.
And the children's garden. There's a children's garden there. Yeah. You can actually read about some of the gardens by the bay and the hawker centers that I just mentioned in my blog. I have an article on like budget friendly things to do in Singapore with kids, since we did mention that it can get expensive. And actually, I do want to make a note about how expensive it is. I think because it is such a wealthy city, I think that there's like an invisible group within Singapore that doesn't really get mentioned. And I only will say this just because like I think I watched like a movie or documentary about it, but there's a lot of like service workers, and they live there too. They're Singaporeans too, or some of them are like domestic workers coming from like the Asian countries outside of Singapore looking for work and hopefully like sending money back home to their families. And so what is interesting about Singapore is there is this like opulence, richness or wealth and stuff
but it's partially powered by the workers that are like, serving the wealthy. And so again, this is like, if you have a chance to sort of like talk to your kids about like that, or like, the disparity between like the wealthy and the poor, a little bit about like privilege and stuff, this is a good chance to start like thinking or having those conversations with them.
Yeah, I'll have to look up what the name, but it was a fictional narrative series on HBO.
Right. I think that was it, right? Yeah.
It was about that. It reminded, for any of us that have grown up around, I grew up in Colorado. For any of us that's grown up around really popular ski resorts like Aspen, it's that kind of mentality. It's like the people there and experiencing are different than the people who work there.
Yep.
And there's this wall between the two. So
yeah.
What else? What's for you?
Well, I mean, I guess we can, since we're talking about wealthy things, we can talk about Orchard Road. When I was a kid, that was like one of my favorite roads to go to. It just has all of these huge like shopping malls and some of them high-end stores too. And I always thought it was like very like flashy. And I think we bought like my phone there when we were there last time. Yeah. There's like an Apple store, so I bought an Apple phone. Yeah. But yeah, it's worth visiting just to see like, the consumerist aspect of Singapore.
So having said all this, how long would you recommend for World Scholars to be there?
Again, I think, it's funny because I usually am like, no, spend as much time as you can in a place. But I think like Singapore, you can probably maybe a week is the max.
I was going to say that. I was going to say 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the reason I say 3 days is because you're going to blow through such a huge part of your budget if you stay too much longer.
Yeah.
And it's a great city to live and work in, I think.
Yes.
It's not, you see all the major bits after just a couple days. And then from a tourist standpoint, or from a visitor standpoint,
or traveler's standpoint.
Yeah. And so it gets a little, I wouldn't say uninteresting at that point, but just like you could probably move on and be okay.
But definitely take a visit because there's some great things to see. I mentioned like the hawker centers and we talked about the super trees. I think the different neighborhoods are worth visiting. Yeah. And there's just like a fantastic art gallery or art museum in Singapore as well. If your family is into art. And
we haven't personally experienced this, but I have been told that there are forests on the edge of town that you can camp in.
Yeah.
So there's camping available.
When there's like a little island. So Singapore is an island, but then there's also a little island off of Singapore called Sentosa, which is now just like a resort place. So if you wanted to like splurge and go, spend a few days in a resort, you can do that as well. So
it's also a great place for yacht watching just because it is, I mean, it's a marina first and foremost. I mean, it has been for millennia at this point. I think it really is one of those, pearl of the Orient kind of places. I hate using that word. I'm sorry, but it is one of those places that gets depicted as like what is the city, the like mythical Asian city that often is in literature. I'm completely spacing.
So I don't know, Xanadu?
Yeah, no, not Xanadu, but similar like that.
Okay.
Anyways, Singapore is like rumored to be, that's kind of what that place is. So, anyways.
Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Worldschooling Q&A with Astrid and Clint. Be sure to check out the show notes for any links we mentioned in the episode, and visit my website, thewanderingdaughter.com, to dive deeper into world schooling and family travel.
If you like what you hear, please consider supporting The Wandering Daughter on Patreon. It really helps us out and keeps the show going. You'll also get exclusive perks like episode transcripts, additional resources, access to office hours with us, and more. You can find us on Spotify or the podcast app of your choice. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you can tap the bell icon to get notified when new episodes come out. And if you like this episode, please give us a 5-star review. It really helps new people find our show.
If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap the bell icon to get notified of new episodes. You can follow me on Instagram @WanderDaughter or follow The Wandering Daughter on Facebook. Links to these are also in the show notes. If you have any world schooling questions you'd like us to answer for future episodes, feel free to throw them in the comments or send us a message at thewanderingdaughter.com/podcast. Until next time, happy travels!
Bye!